In this round, each candidate will answer a separate question. The order will be Mr. Bell, Mr. Porter, Mr. Bateman, and Reverend Sewell. This is a 3-minute question. The Forum Committee has reviewed your campaign websites, Facebook pages, mail pieces, and other advertising. Mr. Bell, your campaign materials indicate you want to stop wasteful spending and create jobs. Please share specific examples of wasteful spending you would eliminate and how you propose to create jobs. 3 minutes.
Well, turn on the mic.
All candidates, please turn on your mics.
Reset the clock for you. We're going to reset the clock. Go ahead.
Yes, as far as creating jobs. And we need to create jobs in our city. And one of the ways to do that is we need to create... Can't hear you? Can you hear me now? We need to be a business-friendly city. One of the problems with our city is we're not friendly to businesses coming in. And one of the ways that we need to become friendly with businesses coming in is to work on our electric bill. I know as a business, I pay 50% more electricity than if I had FP&L rates. A homeowner pays 20% more than if they had FP&L rates. That's one of the things that will keep businesses from coming to our city. The other thing is that we need to be a friendly city to our constituents and to our citizens. To attract businesses here, we have to be crime-free. Well, not necessarily crime-free, but we're ahead of the Miami-Dade County and the state of Florida, our crime rate is. All right? And that shouldn't be. We've taken police officers off the street. We need to put them back on the street. All right?
Did you also address the wasteful spending?
Wasteful spending. Things like Roscoe Warren Park, where we had one $3 million change order. All right? That is unacceptable. There is no reason our city should have paid out $3 million more for a park. With that $3 million, how many police officers, how many parks could we have police officers we could have hired, and so on. That's just one of the many things. We need to streamline our budget, streamline our workforce, and work on cutting back on the wasteful spending, such as the change orders, that kind of thing, and create committees that will review these things.
Mr. Porter, your campaign priority seems to be the hiring of additional police officers. What is your understanding as to how many more officers are needed, what the annual cost per officer will be, what statistics or information you can specifically cite to support the need, and what sources will be utilized to pay for this additional expense?
Can everyone hear? It's hard to tell if you can hear or not. If there's a national standard per capita to police officers, and right now we're probably about 25 below the national standard. And there's no way that we can initially hire 25, but it's kind of like you eat an elephant one bite at a time, and we need to at least add on additional officers. At the same time, I think we have a little bit of a morale problem. Maybe we're not functioning at fully 100% of what our police officers should be. So the goal would be twofold. Basically, we need to find out if there is a morale problem, what is the cause of that morale problem, get 100% out of the officers that we do have, in addition to getting closer to that national standard, that number of per capita residents per police officer. What was the other part of the problem?
The annual cost per officer and statistics on the need for additional police officers.
Well, the statistical information is basically put forward by some national standards that I remember when I was on the council before. We've always been a little bit lower than the national standard. The last time that we we brought in police officers, we brought in 5 police officers. It was approximately $1 billion. So I'm sure it's more than that cost today. But at some point in time, the residents, we have to approach the residents and say, is it your most important priority to have more police officers and better protection? And we may have to talk to the residents about possibly adding some cost to our tax base, because we're very, very, very low. And we've seen residential crime escalate in residences that we've not had in the past. So it's definitely a number one concern. I think the police officers are our face and our contact with the residents, and we definitely want to give them the tools necessary to do their job.
And the last part is what sources will be utilized to pay for this additional expense?
It's prioritizing. I mean, it's up to the council to prioritize where does the money come from. It's a very large budget, $160 million budget, and my goal would be to work with the council to try to manipulate those dollars to put more resources in the police department. It's as simple as that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bateman, your campaign emphasizes past accomplishments for which you take credit. Please describe the specific future projects and priorities you envision to improve the image of Homestead and increase property values.
Thank you, Bob. Good evening, citizens of Homestead, and thank you for coming out. It's a beautiful turnout. I've already started work on that, and that is, I believe that a second interchange on 328, just east of the BJ's, will bring us 1,500 is a number, 1,500 to 2,000 new jobs by creating an on and off ramp there where we can take the 96 acres to the north, the 30 acres to the south, and develop a second footprint like we have now, where the Kohl's is at and the other retail operations that we have there. I envision a Super Target, I envision a Costco, I envision big national firms that not only will support Homestead, that will support the Keys. Over 10 million people cross that intersection a year, going to either Everglades National Park, Biscayne National Park, or the Florida Keys. If we could get 10% of them to stop, we would do a hero job for the citizens of our community. And they may not be high-paying jobs, they may be entry-level paying jobs, but what we need desperately are second-income jobs. We need them desperately. This town in 2009 had no transportation system. It didn't even have a taxi cab when we put the trolley system in place. 700 people a day it moves.
Any additional projects or priorities?
Well, I agree with Mr. Porter 100%. We need additional police officers. It's going to change the face of this community. We're still in a recession form where people are struggling desperately, and that is no reason to get them to go out and to take items from me or you. But we do have problems. The economy is still suffering dearly. We are 25 police officers short, and what I had proposed on numerous occasions, 2 different budgets, 6 police officers the first budget, 10 police officers second budget, and we had citizens come in this very room and say, I am willing to pay a flat tax directly, specifically set aside for that patrolman, not that management, not that captain, not that upper management position, but patrolmen's. It's about $105,000 per police officer by the time you outfit them with a car, guns, equipment they need, and the latest technology. And we do have one of the greatest police departments in the entire state of Florida. Simple as that. And we just need to support them. I proposed 12 different mechanisms to directly create new business and bring business to Homestead, which the CRA development organization now has implemented 2 of those, which is an incentive to move to Homestead. Up to $10,000 to do either outside facade or inside build out. We need to continue those types of incentives. Thank you.
Candidates, when you hear the timer, go ahead and complete your sentence. But Reverend Sewell, as of the date the questions for this event were generated, the committee was not able to locate or review any campaign website, Facebook page, or printed materials. Your campaign signs contain the slogan, "A voice from the people." Reverend Sewell, who or what motivated you to run for mayor, And what do you stand for and offer as opposed to the other candidates?
What is the reason why I am running for mayor is because the people have not been heard. They've been speaking, but they have not been heard. And not only that, I realize that when I am elected mayor, I'm a public servant whose primary responsibility is to advocate for the best interest of the citizens of Homestead. They were the ones that elect us, so we must first support them first. The residents, their voices must be heard and not neglected. And Mr. Jensen, I'm glad you asked me. I have a 5-point plan to be able to let the citizens of this city know that I mean business. First of all, I would like to generate revenue for our city, thus relieving our overwhelming burden of high light bills as soon as possible. How? By bringing our power plant up to 100% capacity instead of Band-Aid, and also partnering with our federal government to annex Homestead Air Force Base, thus having flights to originate here instead of, and depart from here. Also, I want to service the keys when they, when people come in from other ports of call, they would come in directly to Homestead, and that would give and generate more money. We need more money in this area, more than just the power plant. Also, I would like to bring exceptional businesses to Homestead, creating a year all-around franchise, such as Saturday Night Live after 5, Saturday Night Live after 5, Gourmet Festival with national, with all the nations and cuisines and their music. We have Homestead as a melting pot of beautiful people, and to wake Main Street up, we can, after 5 o'clock on Sunday evening, we can, they can purchase vendors, and they can come out there with their food. It'll be just like a Coconut Grove Gourmet, but it'll be every Sunday. And not only that, I have planned for also an all year round fair, providing jobs and local entertainment right here for our local entrepreneurs. Thus purchasing, and they will also purchase vendor parcels to their goods. And I also have a state-of-the-art, I want to bring a state-of-the-art skating rink here for our children and for our teens.
Okay, our next question, the second question, will be a 3-minute answer, and this one will have a 1-minute rebuttal after all the candidates have answered. The order will be Reverend Sewell, Mr. Bateman, Mr. Porter, Mr. Bell. It's a long one. The city utilities, specifically the electric utility, produce profit for the city. Each year, the operating profit of the electric utility has produced millions of dollars used to supplement the Homestead General Fund, which has, in part, allowed tax rates to remain stable. Not all Homestead residents or businesses use Homestead Electric and pay the much higher rates. This is because a large portion of Homestead, mostly on the east side of US 1, is within the FPL electric service territory. The first question. Do you view the significant cost difference between the Homestead and FPL electric rates to be in effect a local tax on only those Homestead residences and businesses who are required to use Homestead Electric? And the second part, as mayor, would you support any consideration or study of the transfer of the electric utility service to another public or private utility in order to accomplish lower utility bills for our residents and businesses? Why or why not? Why not? Again, Reverend Sewell, Mr. Bateman, Mr. Porter, and Mr. Bell.
Yes, the first part of the question was about our power plant. I do understand that Homestead depends upon about 75% of their of our revenue comes from our power plant. And something that I really want to do, to my understanding, it's only running at maybe 2.5 diesels. I mean, it can have 5. I believe if we bring that power plant up to full capacity of 100%, and instead of just taking a few dollars and throwing at it every year, get those 5 diesels to humming, I believe that will automatically bring our citizens their light bill down. It is absolutely too high. I've heard from so many citizens that the power bill is just too high. And there are many people that would like to move here, but once they find out that the power bill is so high, they say, I'm coming to Homestead. And it's, what side do you stay on, FPL or Homestead? So I do believe that once we bring that in order, we'll be able to, once it comes up to 100% capacity, we'll be able to lower the light bill. Now, yes, I will support a study. We need to do a feasibility study. Homestead, we are proud of our Homestead power plant and sewage, but what we need to do is do a feasibility study on how to bring it up to par instead of letting it just being lackadaisical. I do support a study that would, once we do a feasibility study, to see if this power plant is hurting us, then we need to find out who can come in and help us make it operate better. We should work smarter and not harder.
Thank you. Mr. Bateman, the two-part question, the first part, the cost difference, and the second part, possible transfer of service.
Well, the first part, there's no secret. There's operating costs to every business, as simple as that. And the council, management, and staff are the operating costs. They are not the only revenue producing entity in the city. There are 5 different departments that produce revenue. Just so happens that the power plant produces the most revenue. We take less than 10% of their total gross to apply towards our general fund as operating costs and management costs. Is that fair to the people who live outside the city of Homestead? That is something that's been talked about and thrown around for the last 10 years. And it may not be. It may be worth looking into. I know that Port St. Lucie, Vero Beach just went through a big separation, and they ended up losing their power plant. The last thing that we want to do is lose that power plant. The power plant creates, without a doubt, not only job creation, but it creates a form of competition that once that power plant is gone, I assure you, you're going to see FP&L rates creep up. You'll have no competition to keep them in line. It's inevitable. It will happen. I served on the council in 1995 to 2000. Within one vote, we just about lost that power plant. We are the only city in the entire Dade County that has a power plant. And you can ask the other 34 municipalities if they wish they had a power plant. Now, should we run it smarter? Yes, we should run it smarter. The latest and greatest is out there. The turbines are out there now. There's a gentleman in the audience that's been in numerous meetings with me, with Congressman Joe Garcia, and we are now right in the middle of studying the latest and greatest in turbines that are fueled by natural gas, which we have a direct line of natural gas that runs straight into that plant. So can we do it smarter? You bet we can. We can do it smarter. We just got to want to do it. We got to put our feet to the fire and move forward on it.
The second part of the question.
Against it 100%. Again, I'm saying that we create competition. That competition is going to keep the numbers down in FP&L. We just need to produce power smarter. We don't produce more than 20% of the power out of that plant. We do something called wheeling power. We buy and sell power. We have power contracts that go back 20 years from St. Lucie and other parts of the state of Florida that we have purchased these fuel rights these power rights to continue to produce power at a certain dollar amount.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Porter.
Well, public power belongs to the public, and we have asked this question before about transferring or getting out of the power industry. And when we did, we had extremely large amounts of pushback from the public. So obviously, the public was satisfied, or there was no intent to want to transfer away from the public power system. Where the city is the most, has the most, I guess, profitability is in the distribution system. It's not, yes, we make money in the power grid, but if FP&L were to come in as an entity and buy the system as a question from Homestead, they wouldn't use the power plant. They would shut it down because it's not efficiently run because we don't put enough money back into it. We constantly take money out of it. So if you want to have this unit operate as a quality, low-cost peak unit, which is what Homestead is, it cannot compete with nuclear power at FP&L. But when FP&L has a shortage, or when the grid is short of power, we can come in and sell our power at a higher rate than any other time. So, but what we've done over time is we have depleted, we've not reinvested in the power plant to let it compete with other forms of energy that are available. So I would entertain it, but I think the biggest problem is we've got to reinvest in the power system, in our power plant.
Would you address the first part, whether the higher rate is essentially a local tax?
Well, the higher rate is paid by people that live inside the city limits and also outside the city limits. Our geographical distribution system is inside and outside. So people outside the city, in fact, pay a higher fee, which is being ended up using to run and fund government. So, I mean,
there are also folks within the city limits that pay the lower rate, the FPL rate.
right, and that's driven by a franchise. That's set up by the Public Service Commission. So Homestead's franchise is in a certain geographical area, so is Florida Power and Light. That's not driven by Homestead Utilities or Homestead government. It is in fact a public service fee or a public service plant or power grid that belongs to the city of Homestead, but we don't decide who pays more or who pays less because that's driven by the Public Service Commission.
Thank you. Mr. Bell.
First part was.
First part deals with whether the increase, in fact, you addressed it earlier, whether the higher fee is essentially a local tax, and then the other part was, would you consider transferring the service to another public or private utility?
Well, I most certainly believe it is a tax. I believe that our citizens are paying more. You know who decides how much you pay for your homestead power? The mayor and council. It's a little known, unknown fact that only place in Dade County where your politicians can raise or lower your power bill is in Homestead. Anywhere else in Dade County that you live, if you call your politician and say, oh, my electric bill's too high, they say, we'll call FP&L. Here in Homestead, your mayor and council are the ones that decide what your rate is. Now, fortunately for Mr. Bateman and Mr. Porter, they don't pay FP&L power. Or they do pay FP&L power. They don't pay homestead power. But they are the ones that decide if your homestead bill is going to be higher or lower. All right? They're the ones that are in control of your power bill. All right? Now, also, they were talking about outside of Homestead. Yes, there are people in Leisure City, parts of the Redlands, that pay homestead power. All right? That is a tax. They have no representation. They can't vote for their leaders who make the policy of what's going to happen with your power. They have no say-so at all. Now, it's not fair that some parts of our city don't have to pay the higher rates. Now, the higher rates, why are our rates higher? We buy our power. We buy it, we mark it up, and then we sell it to the citizens. Why do we mark it up so high? Why are we taking anywhere from $5 to $7 million just out of the electric and putting it into the general fund? Why haven't we repaired the plant with that? These are the previous leaders that didn't do those things with that money. That money should have been going back in to take care of the electric plant. It shouldn't have went into general fund. The average bill is, you pay 20% as a citizen. Let's just say your bill's $200 a month. That's $40 a month savings that would go back into your pocket.
Would you also address the transfer of the electric utility before your time runs out?
I think there are ways that we can go about it that we wouldn't necessarily have to transfer the power plant to anybody, but I don't take any options off the grid. I think we have wasted the money that we have generated with that power plant. The electrical workers should be upset with the mayor and the council for not reinvesting in our power plant.
Thank you. Now we go to the rebuttal, 1 minute rebuttal. And again, the order will be Reverend Sewell, Mr. Bateman, Mr. Porter, Mr. Bell.
Thank you. Mr. Jensen, my rebut would be specifically, hindsight is always
2020 when you find out that it's time to be reelected, and instead of touting all of your accomplishments, you have not kept your eye on what makes and what helps and what makes the people of the city happy. What's the purpose of having and creating new schools and building new schools if people, it's hot in their homes? They rather put the windows up than to turn on the AC. We must think about the people first. The people of Homestead must come first. Their monies, their taxes must come first. Anyone can come here now and say, oh, we're going to fix it. It should have been fixed a long time ago.
Thank you. Mr. Bateman.
Yes, we tossed this around for a while. I think that if we, again, it's operating costs. You're going to pay operating costs to somebody to oversee, manage, and make the decisions of that power plant. We do not set the rate. The rate is set by the department head and its group of committee to decide what their cost is for the year, plus no more than 10% overage for capital improvements. But look, why don't we look at this? Why don't we create a citizen advisory committee, a citizen electric advisory committee that oversees the power plant? Take the council out of it. Reach out to some of our retirees and some of our retired bankers, retired lawyers, retired mechanical people that would really serve us well. Create a citizen advisory committee, put them in place, and allow them to control the rates, and allow them to control the profitability of that power plant.
Thank you. Mr. Porter.
Well, two things. An advisory council is exempt from public input. It's appointed by council, and then there's no repercussions from the public as to what that advisory council does. Number two, to sit here and say that we're going to just lower rates and we're going to add police and we're going to fix all the things in the world without having any idea what the budget is, it's a little irresponsible in my opinion. So you just can't sit up here and spew information without any kind of an idea of the repercussions of the opposite side of what you just said. So we have to do a tactical approach to this, and I don't think shirking responsibility as council and giving it to an advisory board that you as a public have no idea or a way to influence is not necessarily the way at this particular point.
Thank you. Mr. Bell.
Well, it's easy to say that council's not responsible, but they are. The mayor and council are responsible for your electric bill. The reason it is so high is because they allow it to be that high. You're paying 20% more because they decided you were going to pay 20% more. They say, okay, let's do it. Why haven't you fixed it before now? Now it's election time. Now it's going to, we'll do this and we'll do that. Where have you been for the last 4 years, the last 10 years? They say, we need to reinvest that money. They are charging us more money and putting it into the general fund. They are not fixing the electrical plant. That is a tax. They're taxing you without letting you know they're taxing you. And people are rising up about it. And it's a terrible thing to happen. It should not happen. The council and the mayor control your bill. Now they're going to correct it when it's election time. Why haven't they corrected it for the last 4 years? Was it okay? Well, part of it is they don't pay the higher prices.
Time.
They got that P&L power. They don't care.
Time.
This one, the order will be, this is question 3. The order will be Mr. Porter, Mr. Bell, Mr. Bateman, and Dr. Reverend Sewell. It's 2 minutes.
And it's a difficult one because it's 5 issues, and you have to select one. Among the following issues, which one would be your first priority and why? And please do not address the litigation involving the stadium, but only your views as to its potential use if it again is under control of the city. Here are the 5. Reuse of the old City Hall site. Reuse of the former bowling alley property. Completion of the Seminole Theater. Use of the stadium.
Development of the Shiver Shotgun House property. And again, Mr. Porter, Mr. Bell, Mr. Bateman, and Reverend Sewell.
Pick one.
Pick one.
Pick one.
And tell us why you picked that one.
In 2 minutes.
Can you name them again one more
Yes,
time?
I will. Reuse of the old City Hall site. Reuse of the former bowling alley property. Completion of the Seminole Theater. Use of the stadium, I guess baseball stadium. Development of the Shotgun Houses property. And which would be your number 1 priority and why? And again, do not address the baseball stadium litigation.
Not going to touch it. To me, the reason we had the discussion about moving City Hall in the first place was the fact that the building was sick, if you want to call it. But the value of that property in the city off the tax roll is not in its highest and best use. So we made a position where we tried 10 years ago to start this move off of that value of the property. And since then, it's been 10 years later, and we're still in the discussion, plus or minus years. I would like to see us contract or do something similar to a long-term lease with a recurring revenue rather than sell the asset and never. And if someone buys that asset and can't make it based on their projections of what they want to do, that asset ends up going into some sort of bankruptcy, foreclosure, and then the city, the taxpayer, the resident, loses that asset forever. So I would rather see us, rather than sell and take the chance of losing that property completely, I'd rather see us try to structure some long-term leases. It's similar to what you see at the racetrack. If the racetrack were to pick up and leave, the asset still stays with the resident and the taxpayer. And I'd like to see us do more of that and less, if you would call it, selling assets. So I think that's a very valuable corner. There's only 4 of that corner in Homestead. 2 of them are currently off the tax roll. I'd like to see us do something positive and get a higher and better use out of that property.
Thank you. Mr. Bell?
Well, it's a shame I only get to pick one, but we'll go with the completion of the Seminole Theater. Ever since Hurricane Andrew, our city has been telling us we're going to rejuvenate downtown, we're going to redo the Seminole Theater. Millions of dollars have went into that theater. And it's no closer to being finished or operating than it was 20 years ago. All right? You were talking about, one of the first questions you asked me was a waste of our money. That was a waste of millions of dollars that we put into that Seminole Theater. It should have been done, finished, and be a site that draws people to downtown Homestead. All right? For whatever reason, I'm not going to say anything, but for whatever reason, the money's been mishandled, it's gone, I don't know where it is, nobody can tell me where it went, nobody can tell me what millions of dollars put there for us, but it's a shame. It needs to be finished, it needs to be a beacon for downtown Homestead there, along with the new city hall. I believe it will attract people, which is what we need down there to revitalize the area. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm glad that the previous man that was in charge of it has resigned, and that will give us a chance to put new leaders in place that will actually do something and get in the common.
Thank you. Mr. Bateman?
Without a doubt, the baseball stadium. That piece of property, 96 acres, could be the state-of-the-art facility for our youth. Not just baseball, soccer, softball, after-school programs. We're in such desperate need of after-school programs for our youth. That is just a gold mine sitting there waiting for our youth. In the city of Homestead, it's free and clear to us. We don't owe a dime on it. We can step up and do a state-of-the-art youth facility there. It's a no-brainer. Thank you.
Thank you. Reverend Sewell?
The one that I've chosen, all of them need a little attention. But the first thing that I've chosen to do is I would really want to rebuild that beautiful city hall over there on the corner. It is prime pieces of property, and I would like to keep it. First thing I'd like to do is once we get the city hall, we know that there's a basement there. Pour some concrete down in that basement, get rid of the radar, and then what we'll do is get some nice trailers. That's the most sensible thing. That corner is the face of Homestead. That corner is the face of Homestead. And what we could do with that corner, yes, the property, we're always looking at how much this costs. It costs so much money. Oh, that's a valuable piece of property. Listen, we can turn that piece of property into a money maker. What we'll do, get some trailers, put the trailers out there, move into those trailers and tell people, excuse my dust, build us maybe a 5 to 6 story state-of-the-art building right there with waterfalls and everything, and rent some space to good businesses, lawyers and doctors, and have it to be a viable piece of property. That corner needs to be revived. It is the face. It's right on the corner of 8th Street and the US 1. When people come in here, they see that big, beautiful 5-story building, and have libraries in there. You have all types of things in there. The citizens will be able to enjoy it. That's what I do with that.
Thank you. Question 4 will be a 3-minute question, and the order will be Mr. Bateman, Reverend Sewell, Mr. Bell, and Mr. Porter.
The current council has directed the city manager to investigate the concept and cost of the city issuing or sponsoring a form of identification to individuals who cannot demonstrate they are legally in the United States. What is your position on the city pursuing this project, both philosophically and in terms of creating a new expense to the taxpayers?
Well, first of all, I'm definitely at the foundation of this because the MIC card, the Municipal ID card, was something that was brought to my attention by the Farm Workers Association of the state of Florida. Numerous meetings took place in my office, and without a doubt, if you're going to continue to use migrants from other countries, then we at least need to give them the dignity
And the honor of having an ID that they carry in their back pocket. An ID to use return items at a local retail store. An ID to show the local security or police department of who they are and where they live. And as far as the cost of it, it would not be 1 cent to the city of Homestead. This has been done in other parts of the country and has become profitable for every state that's done it. Usually one of the credit card companies, or one of the local banks, one of the local institutions that are within that city step up and pay for that ID. The individual will pay a fee, say $7 to $10, but the overall hard cost will be paid by somebody who sponsors that ID. You know, for God's sakes, we allow these individuals to come here. Whether we do or don't allow them, we see them every day on the street. The farmers see them every day in the fields. Let's give them the same dignity that we have. Some simple form of ID, which will help us control the mayhem that we have now. When one of them is injured or creates a crime, we have no idea where they live. If you ask 75% of them that are pulled over by a law enforcement officer here in Homestead, they all live on Mayoral. Simple as that. They all live on Mayoral. I believe it would help them as well as it would help us. Until we start educating, it's not going to change. It's called a balanced community. Let's continue to balance our community so the overall community becomes a greater and more beautiful place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Reverend Sue. Mr. Jensen, I am in favor of a county ID with City of Homestead picture on it. And with that, the name of that person and who their nearest relatives are. So in the event that they're pulled over or they're stopped or they're sick, they have some type of identification. I like the idea for that reason and that reason only. But to take it any further, what I don't appreciate is what you're going to do is start profiling anyone that looks brown, Filipino, or Mexican, and then dark. Then we're going to get into a whole ball of wax and things that is going to stop. Instead of fixing a problem, we're going to create a problem that we are not ready for. They deserve to be decent. They deserve good housing. They deserve to be respected and to be respected as citizens. And another thing that really, really galls me is that we call them illegals and refer to them as them. They are citizens. They pick our food, they are here with us, and they are the majority of Homestead.
Would you address the expense part of the question, please?
The expense part, I did in the first beginning. It wouldn't. The cost would probably be passed on to the city. It would do the city to pick that up. A little minimal cost to only create a city ID card. That's only for their personal information only. Next of kin, where they live, and who could be contacted when they are in trouble.
Thank you. Mr. Bell?
Well, I'm not in favor of a city-generated ID card. The state of Florida generates an ID card. They were talking about folks when they're pulled over, you know, they don't, if you're driving a car, you're supposed to have a driver's license. If you don't have a driver's license, you shouldn't be driving a car. All right? There's no need for the city to, as a business owner, there's forms when somebody comes in to apply for a job with me. If I knowingly hire an illegal, I'm in trouble. There's forms that they have to fill out, and they have to fill out stating they are legal residents. I'm required to get ID from them showing that they are legal residents, and if I don't, I'm the one that gets in trouble. The state holds me accountable. All right? I don't think the city needs to get into the ID business. The state already has jurisdiction over that area. I don't know what good Homestead ID would do you in Naranja or Princeton or anywhere outside of the city of Homestead. You know, I don't know who would, if anybody would honor it. I think it would be a waste of our money and a waste of our time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
Well,
The ID issue is a global issue. It's not a Homestead issue. It's a national issue. I talked to some of the police officers about the problem with the lack of identification and the repetitiveness of the, if you want to call it, when they keep pulling over the same person, and every time they pull them over, they're a different person, but they're the same face. And I understand that is, that is a challenge, for law enforcement. But I don't know where the city funding some process, paying for some process to deal with a large majority of people that may not even live in Homestead. I don't know how that really effectively solves any sort of problem. So at this particular point, and I have to apologize, with lacking some of the fundamental information about how it was proposed, I don't think that's a function of local government when the surrounding area, most of the farm labor, if you want to call it, isn't really employed inside the city limits. I mean, the Alders have a large piece of property, but most of the nurseries are in the Redlands. So I just don't think, and I wouldn't agree to the expense of adding, if there's an expense to it, to add that to the city taxpayer at this point.
Thank you. And the order will be Mr. Bell, Mr. Bateman, Mr. Porter, and Reverend Sewell. Would you support the use of any city money to help fund the construction of a new turnpike interchange at Lucy Street? If yes, on what terms? If no, what is your rationale for not supporting it? Mr. Bell.
Well, no, I don't believe the city needs to help fund an interchange. And part of the reason is right now there's a moratorium. We cannot build a brick and mortar building in this town right now because our sewer systems can't handle any more added infrastructure to be added onto our sewer system. We're going to build an interchange so that we can bring in other department stores and, as Mr. Bateman was saying, a Target and all this kind of stuff. What it will do is make the landowner, if we help to pay for it, the people that own the land around that intersection, their land automatically triples, quadruples in price. I believe those landowners, if they want that interchange built, they can have it built. Right now, there's a mile between the two interchanges. I don't believe there's a need for a third interchange right when the Florida City one is just another quarter of a mile down the road that they can get off at, or they can get off at Camel Drive just before the one they're speaking about. So I'm not in favor of the city paying. Private citizens or whatever want to pony up and put an interchange there, if the state will let them. Usually the state won't let one be, they have to be at least a mile apart, which is what their rule usually is. Then I would be more than happy to let them do it. But I don't think we should be in the business of building.
Thank you. Mr. Bateman.
Thank you, Bob. Without a doubt, it is the fastest way and the most effective way to create jobs. I have a letter from the governor who clearly states, let me restate that, from Mr. Prasad, directed by the governor to me, that show us a national chain, a national box that'll come there, and we will pay 50% of that interchange. And that is the interchange that the Algers worked on for about 2 years. They spent over $1 million, completed the drawings, completed the approval process, 90%. Brought it back to the table in 2009. They didn't want any part of it any longer. We didn't stop. We continued to move on with the Turnpike Authority's approval. The owners of that property went to a national trade fair in Vegas, and there is an individual who's willing to take that piece of property on and pay for that interchange to make it happen. But without a doubt, you're not going to create 1,500, 2,000 jobs any faster than that will do it. I mean, we have to think about our citizens. and job creation. That is the forefront. That is the next thing that every one of us should be saying up here. Education is fixed. Taxes, we've held our own for 4 years, no tax increases. I don't see why we're not just biting at the bit to create jobs, and that will create jobs overnight. Thank you.
Mr. Porter?
Well, I'm definitely opposed to taxpayer funding that interchange. Years ago, the state and the Turnpike Authority took the position that they stopped building interchanges on and off of the Turnpike because the value added to the properties around, the individual property owners around, more than offset any kind of cost if they were to do it, they being the developers, to do it themselves. You know, we, as Mr. Bailey said, we worked on this for a long, long time. It was shut down by the city a few years after the Aldridge had spent a lot of money and the plans were set up. It was a design-build process. The problem though with the development and the fact that you've got certain criteria with car count. If that piece of property, that 100 acres plus or minus, plus the property on BJ's, plus the 40 acres on the Florida City side, that can never develop without some sort of additional car count being made available to that particular area. So the fact of the matter is that interchange is crucial for the development of the city in that 100 plus or minus acres north of BJ's. But it shouldn't be funded by the taxpayer because the value added is going to be the value added to the construction or to the developer as to the value of their project, because they can't do it without it. They can't develop that 100 acres without that interchange. The car count is not available. But definitely not going to agree to any funding from the city in that particular location.
Thank you. Reverend Sewell?
Mr. Jensen, I do not believe that we, our citizens, should pay for that. No, not on the citizens' back, no. But I do believe that let the private enterprise come in, let them fund it, and then let them hire our citizens. And then after they hire our citizens, and also attached to it, we need a bin to hold our waste. The city of Homestead, as I believe, pays the county $32,000 a month to carry away our waste. We're always talking about building, but we never keep up with what we ought to do to sustain the growth. So what we should do, let free enterprise come in, let them build it, let them hire our citizens. 15,000 jobs sounds good, but not on our backs. Let them hire our people and take that money, and let them also build a big enough tavern with a lift station that can support, and it'll help build other schools. And there's CHI wanted to do something. There's a whole lot that needs to be done. That'll be a great project for private enterprise to come in. This is one time I agree that private enterprise should come in and support the city of Homestead.
We'll do a 1 minute rebuttal in the same order. Mr. Bell, statement, Mr. Porter, 1 minute rebuttal.
Well, it's, like I said in my previous statement, I think Mr. Bailey said that there was a private citizen willing to step up and pay for that interchange. If that's the case, I'm all for it. But I'm not for the citizens of Homestead having to foot that bill.
Mr. Baker?
Yes, just reiterating again, it is the fastest way to create jobs and the most effective way to create jobs. And I look forward to the Aldridge family bringing forward their proposal. God bless them. They've come back for a second round at it, and whoever the mayor is and whoever the council is, need to sit up, take note, and listen to them, because they're far and few between, like the Aldridge family. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Porter?
Well, development on that property is going to be driven by the market, and I disagree. I think Homestead has gone past the day that it has to basically spend its own money to entice people to come in and offer businesses the opportunity to come in and be successful. So I'm opposed to spending tax dollar to entice in that particular area.
Reverend Sewell.
As I stated a few minutes ago, I am against Homestead, the citizens supporting this. I like the idea, let the gentleman come in, let them pay for it, and let them take away pay for the infrastructure that goes with it. I do believe this one thing, we have to stop halfway building just for feel-good issues. You can't build and don't look at total capacity. Do the infrastructure first, do your homework first, then build. Right now, if you drive down Lucy Street and over there by that ways, House of Pancake doesn't smell like syrup. It smells like syrup.
Thank you.
Our next question is question number 6. It's a 3-minute question dealing with
City Hall. And the order will be Mr. Porter, Reverend Sewell, Mr. Bateman, Mr. Bell. Do you support the construction of the new City Hall on the Washington Avenue site? If not, what would be your preferred solution for establishing a long-term home for City Hall? Please include in your answer how you would propose to utilize the several $million now set aside for the proposed Washington Avenue building if that construction does not proceed.
Mr. Porter.
Well, I was on the council, I was part of the council that made the decision to go in that particular location. And I agree, I think it's the best location for the City Hall. It gets us off of that intersection of U.S. Corn and Campbell Drive. It puts an investment, a huge investment in downtown, which is critical. Downtown needs a good shot in the arm, and that's what a City Hall will do. I agree with the particular location. I think we could expand because we own the property on the opposite side, which is opposite side of the bus there. And we could do some expansion over there, maybe include some sort of a police function there. If we don't invest downtown, who else will? The question is the value of the construction, the dollar value of the construction. We have set aside $18 million plus or minus dollars, depending upon the interest. We have a set of plans that have been on the table for a long time, and they may be a little bit more than we can afford at this particular point in time. When that process started, we were in the building boom. Things were really looking good, and we planned our plans based on the particular time that we were in. At this particular point, I think we need to look at the plans and see if we can get it, or we have to get it for the amount of money that we have set aside.
Thank you. Reverend Sewell.
I really reject the. It is a beautiful area, and I do know that if who's going to, if no one produces or takes care of Main Street, who will do it? But in this case, this is not the case for us to do it. What we need to do, I would understand that there's $26 million on the table. And with that money, we can if we don't watch that money real close, I'm talking about put lasers on it and alarms on it, bells on it, and brakes and everybody else to put guards around it. We have to guard that money. But this is the way we can do it. Right here on US 1, I still love it. Homestead pride. We have to have, Homestead is a beautiful little town. We have our own everything. Put City Hall right in the face of it. Around Christmas time, I love when you come down the street and you see Santa Claus out there and the reindeer out there in the water and they're shooting up nice and pretty. Put us a nice 5-star. Get Anthem Steel to come out here. And you see, the thing is, what we need to stop doing is finding ways to be lucrative with each other and find another way and how to do things with the support of the people in mind. build a beautiful state-of-the-art building right there. And
The second part of the question then is, how would you propose to utilize the several $1 million now set aside for the Washington Avenue building if that construction does not proceed?
that's what I was saying. If we don't, we need to use that money to build right there on the corner. We need to use that money to build right on US 1 in Campbell.
Thank you. Mr. Bateman?
I don't have a problem with City Hall being downtown. The problem I have is with the dollar amount and the size of it. And I don't think the average citizen knows what's been created there. But it's 80,000 square feet, 5 elevators. The lowest bid that came in, $24,700,000. Now, I served on this council in 1995, came in as vice mayor, my first run. Came in November, on the first budget round, we didn't have any money. We were $8 million in the hole, and we scrambled. Oscar Warren chaired finance. We worked and worked and worked till we balanced that budget. Ran for mayor, was defeated, was off for 2 years, came back in 2000. We were $10 million in the hole. $10 million, could not balance the budget. And I remember, we wrote the governor, Governor Bush, please give us 90 days to find something to sell, something to lean on, some way to balance this budget. So it scares the daylights out of me. Because for the first time in my lifetime, in a very, very tough economy, the toughest economy that I've lived in, we have $28 million in reserve. $28 million. Why? Why would you want to go and leverage it, use it in any way, shape, or form? Palmetto Bay built an absolutely beautiful city hall, $11 million, LEED certified. So I don't understand it. I'm confused. We've gone back and forth, but there is a misconception. I'm not against City Hall being downtown. I'm against what's on those drawings. 80,000 square feet, 5 elevators, at least 25. Government overruns, you're going to have 25, 27, you have 10%. You're going to have $26, $27 million.
What is your proposal?
Sir?
What is your proposal?
Well, my proposal would be immediately take a look at the drawings, we can cut the building down substantially, do some value engineering. They haven't even looked at it through value engineering. Go through it and find out why it's at the dollar amount that it is. Why is it at $25 million? There's got to be a reason. Is it the size of the offices? Is it the finished fixtures? I understand the finished fixtures are extremely high in that building. Let's tone it down. Who designed it? Who put their opinion into it? Obviously, it was well thought out to be a high-end facility.
Thank you. Mr. Bell?
Yeah, 4 years ago when Mr. Bateman was elected mayor, he was dead against building City Hall. He said, now is not the time to build. Well, that was the exact time to build. Construction prices were at rock bottom. It was the cheapest we were ever going to get that City Hall built. Now we are almost 4 years later, and we went from a $19 million City Hall where we had $17 million set aside for it from the sale of the Park of Congress to a $26 to $30 million City Hall, because back then wasn't the time to build it. But now we have to build it. Right? It's decisions like this that put us behind the 8 ball, that put us in the situations that we're in. All right? The City Hall, it should absolutely be on the Washington Avenue site. It's one of the things that we need to generate the rebuilding and the revitalization of downtown Homestead. Like I said, for 20 years since Andrew, everybody that gets elected to council, to mayor, or whatever, we're going to do it, we're going to do it, we're going to do it. 20 years later, we still haven't done it. All right? What will happen is, when we move the City Hall down to the Washington Avenue area, That frees up the most expensive piece of property, I believe, that we have in the city of Homestead for a business to come in there and generate tax revenue that will go into the city coffers. Right now, no tax revenues go into the city coffers because we own it. One of my other ideas is to centrally locate everything in the downtown area. I'm for looking at making the bowling alley a police station. It's continued, the property is contiguous with the motor pool, sits right behind it. We have the solid waste area right there, and then we have the water treatment plant. It's all on the same piece of property, the bowling alleys. I think we build the city hall there. Now, I believe that we do need to look into some of the costs. You know, if we'd have done it 4 years ago, we could have got it done for $19 million. I believe we do need to check everything with a fine-tooth comb, but I think we can and will get it built in Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 7.
Will be a 3-minute question. This one is a long one. And it has 2 parts to the question.
Since 2001, at least 4 different routes have been approved by council as the preferred Chrome Avenue downtown bypass. The current route proposes rerouting traffic from Chrome Avenue to Campbell Drive and directing it to the turnpike to go south, but away from downtown. Some downtown property owners support removal of truck traffic, but many in our community fear that the current proposed route is unworkable in terms of placement and would create additional traffic issues on an already congested and narrow Campbell Drive. Most agree it will be several years before that solution is implemented, if ever. The questions. Will you ask council to rescind its support of the current proposed route? And if so, what is an alternative? The second part, do you believe a bypass is essential for downtown revitalization? The order is Mr. Bateman, Mr. Bell, Reverend Sewell, and Mr. Porter.
This has been around for over 10 years. We've looked at every street going east to US 1. And I still think probably the best route would be the bus route, 11th Street to the bus route, and the bus route straight into the market. But I serve on the MPO board, Metropolitan Planning Organization, and I assure you, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Because just the study alone, you'll be 5 years after that. I think it needs to be taken off downtown. You're going to bring City Hall downtown, and you see City Hall coming alive now with Dade Medical College and a couple of new restaurants that are happening down there. If you don't, during the farming season, you're going to have a serious fatality eventually. It's a historical site. Most of historical sites throughout Florida, they do everything they can possibly do to preserve those historical sites. So my choice would be Turner on 11th. We own 11th. We can control the build on it. Take it to either the busway or take it to US 1. It's the shortest route back to US 1. MPO wants us to use Campbell, and Campbell is already so congested now. All you do is frustrate the citizens and create more problems and more accidents. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bell?
Well, you had stated that you were talking about taking it down Campbell. Any of you in here have ever driven on Campbell Drive right up at the corner of Rome and Campbell? You know, it's almost impossible to get 2 vehicles in those 2-lane areas. And those are vehicles. They're not tractor-trailer trucks that are trying to drive through there. The only way that they would be able to do that is to eminent domain a lot of that property. I don't know what they would have to do with the bank that sits on the corner, or the funeral home that sits on the corner, or the gas station, or Royal Palm Grill there, because there's no way the trucks can turn that corner. Not with the situation that it is now. I'm not for having it go down Campbell Drive. The disruption to the business community there. All the businesses, when they're tearing up that street to make it big enough for tractor trailers to drive on, they would be put out of business. It would just, I think it would be a total disaster. Now, do we need to route it somehow? Yes. Do I think Campbell is the way to go? Absolutely not.
Thank you. Reverend Sewell?
I agree with Mr. Bateman on this one. I believe the best route is a lot of things. It might not be comfortable, but good government takes politicians to become statesmen, and this is where, even though it's going to take us a while to get that from 11th Street to the busway, we have to be statesmen, work on it, work on it, work on it, give downtown the relief, and then bring that baby onto the busway and shoot it on US 1 and bye-bye.
Thank you. Mr. Porter?
Well, the alternate route, I don't call it a truck route, because there's going to be more uses for that than just rerouting trucks. We've got a traffic problem where you basically take 4 lanes of traffic
and turn it into 2 lanes in the historic district. So we need a reliever route off of the historic district in order for the historic district to decide, to succeed. The problem is this is a Homestead problem. This is not an MPO problem. This is not a county problem. Nobody wants to deal with this. We have to deal with this at our level. When I got on the council in '97, there was a set of plans drawn up to 45 and off of Chrome through the area between the Southern Bell building and what is now the current City Hall, future City Hall site. But we couldn't keep the consensus in that direction. But that was the closest, easiest, quickest way to get this project done. Now here we are in 2013. We've lost funding, I don't know, 4 times, 3 or 4 times, and it was going to be funded by FDOT because we were going to go from a state road to a state road. It's an intrusive process, but unless we figure out a way to get them off of downtown, we're going to destroy our downtown. Campbell Drive is not an option. It's absolutely not an option. It's not wide enough for 2 trucks, regular sized vehicles. And the turning radius of a 52-foot tractor trailer with a sleeper cab is 100 feet. It's just not going to happen.
What route would you propose?
I think we have to seriously take a good hard look at the original, which takes it, again, it's not just for trucks, it's for relief off of the historic district. And if we want to survive and we want to protect our historic district, we have to find a way inside our city limits. If my recollection is clear, the busway was never an option. Now, if that's changed, I still think you have huge challenges with 11th Street. You still got radius, you still have schools, you still have residences. You have to tell those residents that you're going to reroute everything off of Chrome Avenue. You're going to have complete and total resistance on 11th Street. It's a very, very hard decision we have to make. But the shortest, the quickest route is the original route at about 4th Street, 45, and you're going into Flagler or taking it over in US 1. And that would be my intention, is to go back and take a good hard look at that as a city route, completely controlled by the city and discussed inside the city, and taking the solution back to MPO and or FDOT.
It was reported by the Miami Herald on Sunday that the pending city budget contains an increase of $470,000 for the additional cost of health care coverage for city staff and elected officials. If elected, will you set an example for your council colleagues and city employees by contributing toward the cost of your city-provided family health insurance coverage in the same manner and amount as city employees, rather than being fully covered at no cost, as is now the case for all elected officials? In order of answering, we have Reverend Sewell, Mr. Porter, Mr. Bateman, and Mr. Bell.
Mr. Jensen, I believe that all of us that are in leadership have to do the right thing and set an example. Yes, I will be the first to set an example and contribute.
Mr. Porter,
I got 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
There's absolutely no question that we should contribute like the employees, because at the end of the day, we are employees.
Thank you. Mr. Bateman?
Yes, without a doubt. contributing to that particular cost that was set up when I was not on the council, I would be agreeable to that issue.
Mr. Bell?
Don't have a problem paying my fair share.
Wow, we have unanimity here. Our next question is question number 9. It's a 2-minute question. The order of answering will be Mr. Bell. The order of answering will be Mr. Bell, Mr. Porter, Reverend Sewell, and Mr. Bateman. Although the mayor is perceived as the political leader of the city, that position is only 1 vote among 7 and must garner 3 other votes to pass the mayor's agenda. Which candidates for council do you support as most likely to agree with and support you if you are the next mayor?
Oh my God.
They don't get easier. The order of answering, Mr. Bell, Mr. Porter, Reverend Sewell, and Mr. Bateman.
Well, I would hope that they all love it like me, but I think that is a question more geared towards the other candidates and the people on the council now. I'm more than willing to work with anybody that's elected and put there by the people. It's the people's choice. They will make it. And when I'm elected mayor, I will work with anybody that is on that council. We have to, for the city to go forward. I can't say, well, you didn't vote my way on this or that. The petty games have to get out of the way, and we have to.
But that's not the question. The question is, which candidates for council do you support as most likely to agree with and support you if you're the next mayor?
Candidate do I
Yeah.
support?
Which council candidates do you think would be most likely to agree with and support you if you're our next mayor?
That's a tough question. Is it a plural? Are you saying candidates or a
Yeah, plural,
candidate?
plural.
Oh, all of them.
You have not answered the question. You're acting like a politician. And you're not one yet. Would you like to try
And I've never
again?
been one before.
Would you want to try one more time?
I think Mr. Shelley. I looked at Mr. Shelley and I've watched what he's done on council, and he seems to be pretty level-headed, and I think I could work excellent with him. Now, as far as him supporting me, I have no idea. Or probably a better one yet than that is Patricia Fairclough. I believe there's a lot of having agreement with Patricia. I think we think a lot. We have the same vision for the city, so it would probably be her.
Yeah. She's not a candidate. Yeah, and you used all your time, so we squeezed, but we didn't get it. Mr. Porter.
Well, this was a really nice question. I'm just looking in the room to see who's here right now. Ozzy's my favorite because she's sitting right there. Look, that's a very tough question. Obviously, Steve Shelley's not really a candidate. He's already, in essence, been elected. I think
He's a candidate.
I mean, he's a one-vote winner. All he's got to do is vote for himself, and he's in because he has no challenge.
True.
So, but I think at the end of the day, Steve Shelley's a very good candidate. I think Nazi's a very good candidate. I've been around her in this campaign, and I believe she would do a really good job. I like Norman Hodge. I think Norman is a very honest man, and I believe I've served with Norman, so I do have a history with Norman. So I think that he would serve as a very good councilman. And who else is up? It's Norman, Nazi, Shelley. That's it. And then me as a mayor.
Steve didn't really hurt that much. Reverend Sewell.
Seeing that Homestead, how it's been functioning, one thing I do love about Homestead is its form of government. Homestead, first of all, I would really, I'm premising my answer on the ones that respect our form of government the most in my idea, Shelley, Williams, Maldonado.
Thank you. Mr. Bateman?
Yes, thank you, Bob. Shelley, Williams, and Maldonado, without a doubt, 90% of the votes that took place in the last 4 years, look it up, we were consistent on. And that is why this council accomplished what it did accomplish. The 3 high schools, the 28 million that stayed in that, the infrastructure work that's being done now. That didn't just happen. It took 2 years ago, we put it in place, and now it's effectively happening down Chrome Avenue. And you'll see things that will continue to happen that we voted on 2 years ago. But this council accomplished a tremendous amount. I do not want to take anything away from any other council. But just look around, and the proof is in the city. Just look around. The beautification projects, the transportation projects, and a home run on the education projects. We went from an F community to an A community. When I was elected in 2009, we had 1 high school. Homestead High was an F. South Dade, 2 miles out of Homestead, was a D. Today, you have a B in Waterstone, a B in Keysgate, an A in Waterstone, and the 52nd best school in the country in Master Academy. So how did we do it? We voted together. I don't care. Don't let people drag you down with negative campaigning. Just look around and see what we accomplished.
Folks, we ask that you not applaud or please don't.
Those were all red shirts.
We're adding 2 questions from the audience, and there'll be 2 minutes each, and we'll begin with Frederick Sewell and move to the right. The first one is, are you willing to invest in the implementation of the Southwest
Master Plan. As long as we don't take monies that was allocated for the Southwest section, and as long as we don't take monies, first of all, our citizens, our employees need a raise. We want to invest. I believe the first thing we need to do is see if we can invest and give our police department and these employees that's been working. I came to a council meeting, we almost gave away $25,000, and we have broken down police buildings, and we need to first invest in what we have. Bring the rapport back, bring love back to the city of Homestead. Make the workers that's working here feel good.
Was that a no answer to the Southwest Master Plan?
That's a yes if we do those things first.
Mr. Bell?
I am willing to invest in the Southwest Master Plan. I think it needs to be more than planting some trees, painting some lines on the street. I mean, the master plan needs to be implemented. We've had master plans all over this city, but they don't seem to be followed. We've had one for downtown Chrome Avenue. We've had one for the Southwest. We've had one for the Northwest. And we spend all these money on these plans, and then we don't do anything with them. We don't implement them. We don't follow through with them. A new mayor and council will come in, and they'll want to change the whole thing around. I think we need to get a vision for our city, create the master plans, and carry it through. Because every time we get a change of the guard, the plans all change. And we do another study, and we do another. I think if we can just find one, stick to it, and get it done, we will be a lot better off. So I guess I'm willing to invest.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes, Bob, I'm more than willing to, and I think that this council realized that with that rail spur that we have going through right up behind 9th Avenue,
That if we didn't step up the way we did and create light industrial, a former council had taken the light industrial out of there and pushed it to B1 and B2, we were going to lose that spur. And not every city has that spur. It's important to bring back light industrial. We did it, and since we've done it, you've seen a lot of those empty warehouses along 9th now become occupied, which are creating jobs at this time. Yes, there has been a significant amount of cleanup, not just the landscape. The overgrown lots were incredible in the southwest section. Literally, bodies were found. A body was found in one overgrown lot. I give my congratulations to Mr. Williams. He went down there and he pounded the pavement, and he pounded his fist on this dais and said, "You're not keeping your promise in the Southwest." And walking the Southwest on Saturday, door to door, I could not find not one overgrown lot. They were mowed, clean, trim. The little park that's down there, not the Kurt Ivey Gym Park, which we put about $150,000 into, but just the little small neighborhood park that we have. It's been completely renovated. We are on our way. We need to create some jobs. We need to create jobs, jobs, jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Porter?
Let me ask you a question, Bob. Is it support a new plan or the existing plan that's been drawn up?
Existing, as it reads here, are you willing to invest in the implementation of the Southwest Master Plan? With the, I would say, existing.
The existing, okay. I mean, definitely, I mean, it was a very expensive plan when it was originally conceived, and obviously a plan of that magnitude, we had some, if you want to call it, areas that need to be relooked at. But when you take such a vast area, there were opportunities where we needed to clean it up. But definitely the southwest area is a part of the community that's kind of been left behind, and it would be appropriate for us to include that in the process as we plan the future. And the plan was a good plan. It was a very expensive plan, but I do think we need to go back to the plan and work in that direction. And I would definitely agree to fund that plan. And if we have to, modify slightly that plan, but definitely work within the guidelines and parameters of what that plan was originally intended to do.
Thank you. Now our last question, and again, this one came from our audience. We'll begin with Mr. Bell and go to the right, Mr. Bateman, Mr. Porter, Reverend Sewell.
Why does our sister city, Florida City, attract so much more business than Homestead does? What are we doing? What are they doing that Homestead is not?
Bill.
Well, that's a very interesting question, but it's a very pertinent one, and I believe one of the big reasons is they offer incentives to business. They also are on that P&L power. The business that comes to Homestead is going to pay 50% more electric than if they had FP&L power. Well, if you're a businessman and you're thinking about that, you're going to move 4 blocks over to Florida City and build your brick and mortar there. One of the other factors that businesses can't come here, and it's been in the news, CHI wanted to come build a facility here. 4 years ago, we knew the pump stations were having problems. There was a moratorium on our sewage system. We can't put any more brick and mortar buildings over on the east side over there because our sewage systems can't handle it. That pump station needs to be repaired. That was known 4 years ago. 4 years ago, the previous administration had just about had it handled. This administration came in, and I don't know what happened. I don't know why the pump station was delayed, but we're 4 years later, and we still can't put a brick and mortar building over on that side of town. Until we fix that pump station, we're at a standstill. And when you do that to business, the economic growth and the prosperity of your city, it falls apart. We cannot, now we can bring another business in here, but they have to go into a brick and mortar building that's already established. So we're handcuffed. Right now, a Target couldn't build over there, Walgreens couldn't build over there anymore. Nobody can build over there until we get the sewer system fixed.
Thank you. Mr. Bateman?
Without a doubt, the sewer system is a problem, but there's much more than just the sewer system. That sewer system had absolutely nothing done to it the past 4 years. If you will look in its record, it's record that you can go ask for tomorrow. Hayes and Sawyer started the process about 4 months ago. Why Hayes and Sawyer came on 4 months ago, I don't know. We'll have to ask the engineer that. But I personally stayed on the manager and the engineer, Julio Bria, for 4 solid months. That's one of the reasons, the big reason, why I'm now having to answer questions to the ethics department. Why did I push so hard for that pump station? You just heard the answer. There are 5 major businesses right now that cannot come to Homestead. One of them is about to lose their funding because we have drug our feet. Shame on us, shame on me. Shame on me for not pushing harder. Shame on me for not saying more. And when you see, when the truth comes out, you're going to see exactly just what Mr. Bell said. We drug our feet, we didn't push hard enough, we didn't get it done quick enough. Because no county, state government should stop a city from actually creating jobs and creating businesses. And that's what's happening.
Is that the only reason that Florida City is
No,
proceeding?
because they have a tremendous building department that works with people. They don't create hurdles to jump. They push hurdles down. They hold their hand. They walk them through what they call the due diligence process. The due diligence process is how we lost Super Target. Super Target was here in Homestead. We lost it in a due diligence process where they saw that nothing was happening in 90 days. They moved on. We've got to get smarter and faster and quicker in our development service department. I thought we were there until this manager restructured the entire department, and we went from 6 people to 11 people. $1 million from 500,000 to 1 million.
Time. Mr. Porter?
Well, you know, the secret weapon is Otis Wallace in Florida City. He does a really good job.
Strong man.
That's not the only reason why. Otis is a strong guy, not the mayor's position.
Okay, please don't comment.
The question is, we don't have the turnpike dropping every car inside the city limits of Homestead. So they do have a little bit of an advantage here with the traffic flow. But if we do the right thing and we allow access to our communities through the interchanges, I think we'll be able to open up our community just like, not quite to the degree that Florida City has, but I do believe they are more streamlined, and they do have a very cohesive commission, mayor and commission, and they do get things done. They actually took an employee of ours down there and put him in the CRA, and they do a lot of grant funding for their business community. So they have an advantage with the turnpike. I don't think it's an advantage with a strong mayor. I think it's the fact that they work well together, and the turnpike is a key. The turnpike is a key. So.
Thank you, Reverend Sewell.
First thing is Florida City, they don't, the mayor and council don't spend time fighting each other and investigating each other. The second thing is they listen to the people. They listen to the business owners. They keep this. The third thing is they offer infrastructure. Not only do that, they give contracts to local businesses. They make sure they look inside first. They don't take money from inside the city to outside the city, trying to outsource. We've about outsourced our hands off. Another thing they do, they court new businesses. Then after they court them, they work with new businesses. And once they get a businessman in there, they work with them and they compromise. And last but not least, the light bill is cheap.
Thank you, Reverend Sewell.
So we've reached the point where we'll be doing our closing comments. There'll be 2 minutes each.
And the order for the closing comments will be Mr. Porter, Mr. Bateman, Reverend Sewell, and Mr. Bell.
As a former vice mayor and council member of Homestead for 10 years, I feel uniquely qualified to lead our city through these turbulent times created by this bill.
My other main opponent in this race is husband of former Mayor Bell. He has never held office, elected office in his life, and this position is too important for on-job training. I say Mr. Bell is my main opponent because Mr. Bateman were here to win the election. The governor, Scott, would remove him from office the very next day. The governor already did that with Michelle Spence Jones in Miami when she was also arrested and then reelected to office. The bottom line is that the voters have every right to throw their precious vote away because of Mr. Bateman's legal troubles. But it's my hope that voters consider me instead. Our next mayor will have to face many obstacles with Mr. Bateman's arrest. I was a member of the city council after Hurricane Andrew, and I worked hard with this community to bring our city out of the darkness caused by that natural disaster. I'm prepared to act accordingly if the voters once again decide to send me back to the council. I will be able to hit the ground running, and all due respect to Mark Bell, this is not a time to elect an amateur. I've read the blogs and seen the attack mailers against me by Mr. Bell's supporters, and I know that if he does not have a record himself, because he has never served on a board or been elected to any position in our city, his only recourse is to attack my record. Yes, I have made tough decisions through votes to better this community, and when I sat on the council for a decade, I'm proud of our accomplishments while we took our city out of the despair because of Hurricane Andrew. Please go to my website, jeffboydformayor.com, to learn more about my campaign so we can move Homestead forward.
Thank you. Mr. Bateman.
Thank you, Bob. I've given 3.5, almost 4 years of my life here, some 30, 40 hours a week, doing things that people said could not happen. We fought for one high school. We ended up with 3 built and a 4th on the way. We fought for transportation system. We ended up with a transportation system for free that moves 700 plus people a day. Just the aesthetic value of this community has changed overnight. From our thoroughfares having no landscape to having beautiful landscape. Because I want what you want. I want your friends and your relatives to get off that turnpike and say, wow, what a clean, beautiful city. I want better parks for our children, better after-school programs. I want us all to get along, a balanced community. And that's what this council has worked towards. That's why you see so much diversity here tonight. And that's why you see so much diversity on my campaign, is because they don't want to lose me. They know that they finally have a voice. Whether it be Afro-Americans, whether it be Hispanics, Asians, they know they have a voice. For the first time, they've seen the inside of the mayor's office and have been able to come and go freely. They didn't have to wait days or weeks or months or be turned down. I was there for them. A lot of great things have been accomplished. And I know I hear my opponent, and I'm sure other opponents will be leaning on the fact of my arrest. But I wasn't going to bring this up, and I have not served or sent out one negative piece. But all you have to do is go on the website and look. Mr. Porter has the exact same charge that I filed.
Time. Reverend Sewell.
Greetings, everyone. I am Reverend Dr. Joseph G. Sewell, punch number 33. Mr. Jensen, to the Rotary, Steve, to our fellow citizens, to Rotary, to all of you out here. I realize that I am a public servant whose primary responsibility is to advocate for the best interest of the citizens of Homestead. The citizens of Homestead, you are going to elect me, and I'm going to support your voices, and I will put you first. The residents' voices must be heard and not neglected. There are some great things I want to do. First, I want to bring some more money into the coffers, generate new businesses, help repair our power plant, annex Homestead Air Force Base, and have a flight to the Keys, bring exceptional businesses to Homestead year-round, bring a state-of-the-art skating rink for our young people, have old school night, teenage night, family night, church night, repair our bowling alley, bring and put a nice teen grill in there, and then have like Dave and Buster's arcades and games so that our kids would have something to do. And finally, bring new businesses to the southwest section, completing the southwest master plan with state-of-the-art new homes that was promised by our friend.
Thank you. Mr. Bell?
Well, I don't think I need to beat up on my two opponents. They're doing a pretty good job of it amongst themselves. But the one thing I will say is, my one opponent is talking about experience. Well, they just stated it. That's not the kind of experience we want running the city. We don't need folks with ethic violations and folks under investigation and under indictment and everything else running our city. That's what's been here, that's what's been here before, and that's what's trying to come back. Believe me, I've never served in office before, but I have been involved in politics. And if you think I'm a turnip that just fell off the truck, you have another thing coming. I'm honest, I'm ethical, I will represent the folks of this city the best I can. I will move this city forward. I hear a lot of, I want clean parks, I want this, I want, we all want it. But now it's time to do something. It's time to do it, it's time to go forward, it's time to rebuild our city, get along with it, and stop with all the infighting, stop with all the graft and corruption. And if we can elect honest, ethical leaders, I think we can get there. I want to thank Bob Jensen, Steve Lobster, and our wonderful timekeeper over here. And I think you've done an excellent job.
Thank you. And thank you, gentlemen. And now is the time to reward them